Welcome back to Morning at NTV. Now, as we conclude the show, we want to just have a conversation about how music in Uganda has found its way onto the virtual platforms and what it's doing there for musicians. Now, for many of you during this lockdown time, you might find yourself turning on the radio or perhaps going to YouTube, different places, and also just simply downloading music to cope during these times. Now, it's also a way of coping through the lockdown for many, but we want to wonder, for a number of times, for some of you wonder, has it crossed your mind how these musicians are doing in such a time like this? Well, this morning we're taking a look at how two musicians, Sandra Suubi and Apus, are coping in these times, and we're also joined by Andrew Kagwa, who is a journalist to the Daily Monitor and has taken a look at it as well in The Scoop this morning, an article he wrote about it. So let's have this conversation. Welcome to Morning at NTV.
Hey.
Hello. 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 And Apus, welcome to Morning at NTV. We see you sipping something.
Yeah, I'll give thanks. Thank you for appreciating.
Okay, now just going into Sandra and Apus. How are you doing during these times? We'll start off with you, Sandra. As a musician, no concerts. How are you surviving?
I think it has been a really wonderful time to pause and reflect. Although it's at the start of the year, so most probably we had done that before. But it has been a good time to, I guess, sit down, think through music. It's also a really lovely time to make music. So I think maybe the questions that are in my mind are really thinking through what will the effects of this be? And some of the really good questions that have also been raised on ways in which we can better or further formalize our industry so that our effect can actually be felt with actual statistics, and really know what is the effect of the arts, because I'm a visual and performing artist. So there's a lot of conversation around what is our role in the economy, what have we contributed, and how do we formalize this so that at times like this, it is recognized and responded to just like any other practice, you know, in the economy. So for me, it has been a really special time to create, because really our lives are in a way always like this. You're always in studio, either making visual art or making music. And so this has been a good opportunity to get in touch with the rest of the world, but also be able to sit, pause, reflect, and make really informed decisions going forward.
Okay, and to you, Apus, for Sandra, it has been a time to reflect. What about you, Apus? How has it been?
There's nothing changed. There's nothing different. I do the same things. I'm not very outgoing, so the curfew has not really treated me bad. I move out once in a while. I'm not really that kind of guy who is always out. And I don't think it's any different. The difference is that I cannot really just go and see my parents. Like, I can't do all those simple things. I'm not performing, but I wouldn't feel bad that I'm not performing, because who would I perform to out there? So basically, unless we have anything online, everything seems to be a little different. But I cope up with times like this because I am greatness. So greatness is always like enjoying any moment, like I'm basking in my moment. It doesn't matter if I'm not going out, if I'm staying inside. For me, that doesn't matter. And it's because I've made good decisions in my life. I make the right deals. And I know how to do things outside music as well. Besides using the music as a platform, I know how to do other things outside that would still probably like get me some money to sustain myself and to help my family and my fans as well, to enjoy me on the internet so that I have data. So basically, I am happy with the times and I'm proud.
Into the conversation, Apus and Sandra's situation seems to be different. For some, people would think that perhaps we have a perception for many that musicians live concert to concert or deal to deal, whichever comes their way. But for Andrew, you have engaged with some of these musicians. What is it like for them at this point in time?
Well, art is a very diverse thing. So there are many artists that are coping differently. There are those that have decided to perform to their audience virtually, and then there are those that have decided to use this time to write more. For example, the other time I was talking to a writer who said he's using this time to write more. And then there is a painter who was telling me he's using the time to paint more. This is the best time to be quiet and do quite many things. But when it comes to performing artists that are not booked at the moment and they kind of have to find a way to connect with their audience, many are using online platforms. There are DJs that are trying to connect with the audience through mixes, like almost each and every weekend. And then there are artists that are doing live performances. It could be an acoustic song, and some are trying out concerts. For example, I know this weekend there are a couple of concerts that are happening online.
Okay, and when it comes to the money side of it, when it comes to concerts online, how does that translate for these performing artists?
At the moment, I only know one artist that has put a price to their online concert, and that happens to be Kenneth Mugabe. When it comes to many other artists, they tend to use these online concerts as the way to connect with the audience. You know, one of the things I wrote about some time back was the fact that COVID-19 is kind of an equalizer. Today, whether you are an established artist or an upcoming artist, you're kind of all stuck home, and you have this audience, which is the internet, and you need to find a way of harnessing this online audience that's existing. At the moment, for many artists, I don't think it's even about looking for money. It's about forging a way forward, and you can only forge a way forward right now when you try to connect with the audience that's basically home. And it's not just music. There is film where people are trying to put films online. I know Swans released a short film the other time. Other filmmakers have been putting their works online. At the moment, it's not even about making money. It's about connecting and grabbing that audience.
Okay. Now, away from money, and something that Sandra had talked about, and perhaps we'll start with you, Sandra, is the fact that these times are teaching us something. What is it teaching for artists? What are you learning from this time that perhaps in the future, because you mentioned the effects, what do you see will be changing in the art industry as a result of COVID-19?
I think a lot will change, mainly for how we have seen entertainment, because a lot of things that we do are built on this element of trust, trust to deliver, trust to be in a space together. And one of the things that art does is that it brings people together. And that's something that has really been fought by this situation. So for me, I took part in a conversation by the leader of FEZA, Elijah Kitaka, and he said a very powerful statement that I think right now is one of the things that we really, really need to be thinking about, is the formalization of this industry. Also in the visual arts, there have been a lot of conversations on what's our transparency, do people know what we contribute to the economy? Because right now there are very few conversations around how do we work with artists. And so what you've seen also is that, for example, I've seen some artists are supporting DJs because they know, this is the work that I work with these people, and I don't see any efforts going to supporting them in this time. So let us work with each other and support each other. And so it was a very interesting question that I think we need to think further about, on how can we further formalize our industry, because then it shows what the influence we have on the industry, on the economy is, and how we can better think about, even when we say live shows. I think for me, taking some time before I do things like live shows has also been questions around what is the aftermath of going live like that, So things like what FEZA is doing with Kenneth Mugabe, where it's a paid for experience. If entertainment becomes something that will be online for the whole, let's say, till the end of the year, what does that mean, for a musician or for a visual artist? And so how do we carefully think about the steps that we are taking? Because also we are in a context where many times, and now that we are all online, we learn a lot from the Western world, and we look at what they're doing and just apply that. We also saw that with the way in which we sort of dealt with this situation as a country. So knowing that we need to really think about our context and what is clearly affecting us, to think of ways forward that will be very good and applicable to our context as Uganda, as artists in Uganda. And I think it has also been a very perfect time for us to come together, to think together. I've loved seeing how artists are connecting with their fans online, but it's also still a question around, how many people in Uganda are online. So if we're saying we're having a good reach to this audience, are we really,
Yeah.
So all these statistics and really knowing what is our context, because also
just to bring in APAS onto this conversation.
Studio.
Yeah.
So the time that we usually
Thank you so much, Sandra. APAS, what do you have to say about this briefly, the aftermath of what it will have on our industry?
I think nothing will change.
Interesting.
I don't think much will change. It's easy here to talk and say, oh, this is going to happen, but industry is more built on individualism, and don't expect people to change that quick. You are not a magician. Okay. So basically what you have to know is that everyone moves a certain way. Some people will learn from that person, some will not, some will move that way, some will not. So to be honest, there are people who are not even learning in times like this. Yeah. You may look at it like, oh, probably this person is learning, but the next person isn't. For example, I'll give you an example. I don't usually go out. I am a commercial artist. I go perform maybe on so many shows. I do a couple of things, but the main thing is that the way I've branded myself and the way I move, I don't move like many of the artists in Uganda. They move a certain way, I move a certain way. That also applies to so many other artists. Some artists don't care about online stuff. They care about the real shows down there. They want to go to Katakwi and sing. They want to go to Gulu. So the applications, it's very different. We could look at content, but still we have to look at context. Okay. So in the end, I believe nothing much will change, but the times will come back to normal, and hopefully people will be interested in shows and artists will be performing. That's what I hope for, but besides having a vision of what will happen, I do not know.
Okay, well, thank you so much, APAS. Now, Andrew, as I bring you into this conversation, I just want you to say this briefly. We just want you to talk about, there are two contrasting views here. There's a lot to learn, and then we won't learn anything at all. So wrapping this up, what do you have to say?
One, APAS is right. This industry, whenever we're talking about the industry, we must look at the context. One, I remember when Tidal was coming to Uganda, and we had a talk, and I remember raising a question that many Ugandans prefer receiving their music from a pirate downtown, and you're bringing your streaming site and everything. And so when you see Uganda, like, there are many things that are happening in other countries that might not actually be applied to the country. But of course, there are things that might change with a certain kind of audience, because I believe Uganda doesn't have one type of audience. There are people that are going to be availed, many of these artists that can perform, that can probably play an instrument and sing in a certain way that they did not know about before all this happened, thanks to the live shows that everyone is trying to set up at the moment.
Okay.
And again, there are those that will still stay attached to what they've always known when things get back to normal. Okay. So when things get back to normal, I'm one of those people that believe we shall need a very long time to get back to normal again, because people will be poor, other people will psychologically be thinking they will go out and probably catch the disease. So there are chances that we might take even more time to heal, and we might take the same time we've taken in lockdown to actually go back and enjoy the music the way we were enjoying it before.
Okay, thank you so much, Andrew Kagwa, for your view there. Thank you so much, APAS and Sandra Suubi, for joining us on this conversation this morning on Morning at NTV, taking a look at the arts and how the COVID-19 times have changed it for them. That was our conversation, as you have heard from Sandra Suubi, a time to reflect, and she's learning something. APAS, on the other hand, yeah, nothing is changing there. Well, that does it for our conversation this morning. Now, as we wrap up Morning at NTV, for all those that have their birthday on the 24th of April today, thank you so much. That was from APAS. Now, happy birthday to you, and we wish you all the best in this new age. For joining us this morning, thank you. Coming up is Mwasize Mutia with Farida, and she will be hosting Azawi, another artist in the industry. Well, that does it for Morning at NTV. I'm Rita Kanya, and have a lovely weekend.